Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyil ameen. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa tabi'ina lahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Distinguished guest, our guest speaker, Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Mobin. My dear brothers and sisters, we would like to welcome you all to our weekly lecture on research in Islamic Fintech, scopes and challenges. On behalf of Islamic Economics Association, Kuwait University, we are very much pleased to have you in today's session as well. As usual, this platform is organizing programs, lectures, workshops, training, both in Arabic and English language to spread Sharia compliant activities, financial models, banking procedures, services, and we usually cover a wide range of topics in Islamic banking and finance, Islamic insurance, microfinance, capital market, equity market, and also we are focusing on some specific topics, contemporary topics like sukuk, retail and corporate banking and products, fintech, and many other relevant topics that has demand in contemporary time. So today we are very much honored to have Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Mobin to conduct today's lecture on research in Islamic fintech, scopes and challenges. Dr. Mobin is currently the director of iFintel Business Intelligence, financial data analytics, and fintech consulting agency based in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. He is also serving as visiting academic fellow in a few universities, including University Malaya, University of Science Malaysia. He served at Islamic Financial Services Board as a research specialist and the Center of Social Innovation Petronas University. Dr. Mobin has completed his PhD in Islamic finance from INSIF, Malaysia. Dr. Mobin has presented and moderated, also reviewed more than 25 international conferences in the United Kingdom, Australia, US, Saudi Arabia, Maldives, Malaysia, Indonesia, and others. He has also been interviewed by local and international media on the issue of fintech and financial institutions and inclusions. His research papers and articles have been published in many scholarly journals and globally recognized. Dr. Mobin also advised and consulted different fintech startups and companies to develop their products and to market and promote them. So today we are very much happy and honored to have Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Mobin to conduct today's lecture on research in Islamic fintech, scopes and challenges. So without further ado, let me invite Dr. Mobin to conduct the lecture, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohiuddin Mahi, and the organizers for inviting me to this opportunity. Is my voice very clear?
Yes.
It's audible?
It's clear.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Because we need to confirm these days, it's all virtual media before we start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let me share my screen so you can see what I can see. Okay, you can share my screen, right?
Yeah, we can. Yes, yes.
Okay. All good. Welcome everyone to this talk on research in Islamic fintech, scopes and challenges. At the beginning, I would like to talk about the title a bit. If we can understand the title, that will serve the purpose and also help us to understand the concept, the motivation, the background. So you see, these days we have many talks about the fintech and Islamic fintech, the products and developments. But this particular topic is beyond that. We are focusing into research perspectives of Islamic fintech. Right? So we have fintech, then we have Islamic fintech, and then we are talking about the research issues of Islamic fintech. Research is wide, right? In the research issues of Islamic fintech, we will be focusing two things: the scopes. What are the scopes that we can do research in Islamic fintech? And what are the challenges that we are facing in Islamic fintech, and how to overcome this? Ashraful Mobin, Director of Fintech Business Intelligence, as Dr. Mohammad was introducing me. Recently, we also started our operation for Middle East based on Dubai. We started our operations here. So I'm actually now speaking from Dubai. So we also started our Arabic department. That's also good news for our Middle Eastern academician industry players to get involved with us. Okay, we'll talk about this later more. Let's go to the point. Okay, as you can see, it's a brief about iFintel, how we do. It's a business intelligence company. We support the researchers, academicians, industry players in the research consultancy, financial consultancy, fintech consultancy in different ways. So if you need any help, we can definitely help you. But now we'll be focusing on our discussion. Okay, to discuss about the research in Islamic fintech, the scopes and challenges, we have quite a few specific topics to discuss. At first, we will try to understand very briefly the concept of research, right? And then we will try to understand the concept of fintech. What does fintech means? We are listening from various sources, everyone talking about the fintech. So what exactly the fintech means? And then we will talk about the issues in Islamic fintech, issues of Islamic, then we come to the point where we talk about the research scopes in Islamic fintech and the challenges, and then we'll have the Q&A for half an hour. So this will be the structure of our discussion today. So if we can move forward, then you can see here at first topic, we have the concept of research. In my previous class with this platform, I've also covered deeply this particular slide. So whenever we talk about the research, I feel it's very much important to understand the flow of research. That will give us a background how we can connect the dots. At first, we understand the concept of research, then we put into the context of Islamic fintech. Okay, so in the research, as I understand from the moderator, that most of the audience are from the research background. So you already know, just to recap, in the research, if we want to start a new research project, what we do? At first we choose an area. For example, let's say in our university, we have decided that we'll work on Islamic fintech, right? So Islamic fintech is the research area. And in that Islamic fintech research area, we will find a topic. What can be the topic? Let's say the demand of alternative financing in Middle Eastern countries. That is our topic. From this research topic, we need to find some research issue. Okay, we are looking for the demand. Maybe it has still wide. We need to narrow it down more. We go for research or demand for Islamic crowdfunding among the youth in Kuwait. Make it more specific, then it becomes an issue. From that issue, we try to understand actually what exactly the research problem, the literature, the problem statement, right? And from that we derive the gap, and from the gap we get our research question and objectives. And that after that, once we have our topic, we have our issue, we have the problem statement. Next part is very important, is modeling, right? The framework. Once we know, okay, this is the research problem or this is the gap we're trying to fill up, how to model this problem, how to model this issue, right? Mathematically, quantitatively. This is the challenging part. And because if our model is wrong, even we do all the literature, the concept, everything correct, all will go wrong. So modeling the problem, modeling the issue, modeling the objective is the crucial part of any research. And moving forward, then of course, once we have the modeling properly, we try to get the data, and then we try to find the proper method that for this model and with this data set is suitable. And with this data model method, we actually need to find a software that can analyze the whole thing, and then we interpret the output. This is actually the research process that we follow in our research, in our quantitative research. Now, as we know, today's topic is Islamic fintech research issues and scopes and challenges. So just keep in mind, this is our research flow, that we need to have the research issue, we need to have the research problem or problem statement, then we need to model it, and on the model, we need to put the data, the method, and the software, right? So to go through this path, in Islamic fintech research, what are the problems we face? What are the challenges we may face, and how to overcome those challenges? That would be the core of our topics today. Okay, so many of you might be new to the Islamic fintech topics, and fintech and Islamic fintech is a new phenomenon these days, or a new trend, I would say, because if you think from theoretically the definition of the fintech and practically these days is a bit kind of different thing. So let me take you there. Let's talk about the basics of the fintech, basics of the Islamic fintech, the practicality, what's happening to the market. Then we come back and connect the dots between the research and Islamic fintech again. Okay, many of the slides that I have compiled here today are collected from iFintel, our institutions, different lectures from Dr. Hassan, lectures from me, and also from our other speakers. So once we talk about the fintech, financial technology, right? So what does this financial technology means actually? And why do you need it, and why it's so popular these days? So fintech is used to describe the new technology that seeks to improve and automate the delivery and use of financial services. You all know what the financial services means: the flow of fund, the lending, the borrowing, the management, and the whole ecosystem. So to make this automated, make it optimized and improvised, there are a rise of new technologies. So application of the new technologies to improvise the financial system, actually known as fintech. So, fintech is actually utilized to help companies, business owners, consumers manage the financial operations, the process, and the lives by utilizing specialized software and algorithms that are used on computers and increasingly smartphone. Okay, if this sentence seems a bit complicated for you, let me simplify. It's simple. Previously, we used to do the banking, going to the branch, writing the checks, depositing the checks, and getting the money. Then we have the ATM. Okay, we don't need to go to the bank anymore. You can deposit the check, you can deposit your cash, we do cash from the ATMs. Now then we have our mobile app. In the mobile app, every bank, they have their own app. We can just go to the app, we log in there, we can make the transfer, we can many other activities in the mobile app. Then we also have these days new payment gateway and other app, digital wallet and things. You see, every new innovation, every new technology is making the things simpler, easier, and improvised. That's actually the job of fintech. That's what we mentioned in this large sentence. So yeah, as I say, fintech is a combination of financial and technology. Later I'll talk about in the research of fintech, why it's important to understand both financial part and also to understand the technology part. So in the 21st century, when the fintech is becoming a trendy word, is actually focusing to the back-end system, how the financial system is affected by the technology. Then at first it was in the back-end, then it becomes more into the customer-oriented or consumer-oriented definition, like peer-to-peer financing. Then you could say more into alternative lending, alternative credit scoring, to those areas. Now you can see the fintech in different sectors, industries, in education, retail banking, fundraising, non-profit, even the sadaqah, waqaf. We have the social Islamic, social fintech. We have the corporate fintech. We have the different ways, different areas is spreading. And if you look the recent news for last few days, I would say, even last week, you would say UAE, they approved crowdfunding. Some other countries in Oman, they approved crowdfunding just a few weeks before. And few other countries, they approved digital banking. In Malaysia, they approved the digital banking. So you see, just over the last few weeks and few months, changes are happening. Changes are happening core of financial system, the banking system, the capital market system. So the things that we are seeing right now, only after a few months, it will be different. So that means changes are happening. So, and now this is a challenge for the researchers, the practitioners, the startup innovators to use these changes as a vehicle to bring the future innovations and prosper. Okay, let's go to our next slide. So now we understand the fintech, the financial technology or technology that helps the financial system to improvise, to automate, to optimize, and to, or other way to make things simpler. So I always say it like this, right? For any technology to be successful, or for any innovation to be successful, it is required either to simplify the process or to cut down the middleman, right? Then this technology will have a place in the market. And if you look at the recent financial technologies, that's what they are doing actually, the fintech. It is making the process simple, or it is cutting down the middleman like crowdfunding, peer-to-peer financing. Okay. Now, in the Islamic fintech, as you understand from the banking, Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, Islamic insurance like Takaful, all have one common thing, that we have our existing financial system or component of financial system. On that, we add on the Sharia requirement, that in Islamic principles requirement. We have banking. On the banking, the requirement that no riba, no qarar, no maisi, we add that. If capital market, on the capital market, we add those criteria. Then on the insurance, the same thing. So it's other way filtering the financial transactions that we have. We filter those transactions based on some criteria. There should not be any riba, there should not be any uncertainty, lack of transparency should not be there. And in the fintech, the same thing. The financial technology, the applications that we have, we will add, we will filter that with those criteria, the riba, garar, maisi, and other things. And it has to be framed under some Islamic financial contract. The mudaraba, musharaka, murabaha, all these things. As you can read from the slide, as Islamic fintech is placed in the Sharia, the core driver in the fintech. So there's a difference, right? So, and it's a combination of the financial technology and the Sharia requirements. And the products that's been offered, it has to be Sharia compliant. And this Sharia compliance from the very beginning to the end. The form, the platform, means of executions, the technology features, everything. Right? So if you can see, or you can summarize the concept of Islamic fintech in one word, it's simply Sharia compliant fintech. What we mean by Sharia compliant, two things. One thing is that the prohibitions that we have in Islamic finance, it should not exist, and there should be existence of some contract, mudaraba, musharaka, other things. So one should not exist, that is the prohibition, and the thing that should exist is the framework, the contract, any specific contract, any specific Islamic financial contract. That's how I'm trying to put it in layman words. Okay, and now let's talk about some of the fintech applications. So it will help us to understand the practicality of the fintech better. So we have these days digital wallets, Google Pay, Apple Pay, Alipay, every country, in EU country, in other places, you can see there's so many payment digital wallets actually available these days that you can utilize. Then, of course, we have the cryptocurrency, the alternative currency, this leading us to the DeFi, and many things are happening. Then recently, the digital banks, the whole banking system, they want to digitalize. Of course, the digitization are not a new thing. It's happening over the last few decades. But now it's jumping to a different level. Like new banks, challenger banks, right? The concept of these banks, it doesn't need any physical location, but can be accessed through smartphones. And it has all the features to get the loan applications, to get the funding, to get the depositor, to get the investment, and to global multi-currency supports, analysis, insights, everything done on the back end, visualized on your smartphone, and it doesn't require any physical location, the branches, other things, right? And there's a digital banking concept is deriving these days. And you see, like, if you look at the banks these days, the tallest building in any country belongs to a bank, usually. But that concept is going to be changed. It's going to be like your smartphone apps, the smartest app in your smartphone will be the digital banking app, right? Another area that the fintech happening is robo advisory, using the AI to advise your investment, managing your funds. This is another thing. Many of the companies are doing that. Then we have the small business financing, peer-to-peer financing, crowdfunding, but actually cutting down the middleman. So if we understand the financial system, what we see, simply the flow of funds. Some people need money, Some people has more money than what they need. So flow of funds happen. And this flow of funds, it is two things: direct financing, indirect financing. Right? Direct financing usually happens to capital market, indirect financing usually happens to banking institutions and others. Right? So, and in all this flow of funds that's happening, we have many intermediaries there. But using the fintech, you can actually cut down some of the middlemen, some of the intermediaries, like peer-to-peer financing, crowdfunding, and other things. That's how actually this fintech becomes very relevant to the everyone usual life. And once this company is Islamic fintech, the same thing, same process, only ensure the Sharia compliance, and it has to be framed under Islamic fintech contract, Islamic contract. Okay. Now let's talk about some fintech company. Fintech companies are usually the tech startups, as you say, organizations that use advanced technology for improving, developing financial services and products. Like you see these days, this is an interesting information that I'm sharing with you. Almost all the countries, they have these startup hubs, innovation accelerator, fintech hub. Like in United Arab Emirates, they have DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. They started the fintech hub. In Malaysia, they have Magic and Dex, many other organizations. They are trying to accept new ideas, putting it in sandbox, nurture it, and let it to change the system. Because even the regulators, they understand that things are changing. So, and the solutions that being developed in one country might not be relevant to the problems of another country. They need a customized and tailored solution. That's why they are inviting all the tech enthusiast people to come up and bring out all these innovative solutions, especially in the fintech area, right? Because fintech area, it makes money. Fintech company makes money on the commission in many cases. And once you come up with a fintech solution, if you have millions of people, even you cut 0.01 cent, it's huge, right? So that's why even many startups, you can see they are going for fintech startups ideas. And so it's another area. If you are tired of your job or work, you want to start a startup and you have the passion and the skills for that, why not start a fintech company looking into the innovations? And it's a huge field. People are trying to do something, and not everyone has the skills. And if you have the skills or the interest, go for it. I'm sure I can confirm it's a huge area to explore. Okay, and here you can see some of the channels, like the trends of business offering that's happening. We have traditional channel, then we have the internet channel, we have the ATM channel, e-wallet, then the applications channel. As I was talking, giving the example just before, that traditionally we used to go to the banks, branches, deposit our checks, getting the money, then it was moved to the internet banking, then to the ATM channel, and it has come to the e-wallet. Now we have the mobile applications, everything happening there, and we're not sure yet what will happen to the next. You see, the next is very interesting. We have quantum computing coming. We have many other innovative solutions coming, technologies coming. So if we should incorporate those in our financial system, the metaverse is another thing, right? That we just imagine and things happen, right? So many exciting days are waiting for us. And that way we can see the banks and financial institutions these days, it won't be like this, right? So here the researchers have a very good role to play, to understand the changes, to forecast the changes, to compare the changes, and find the implication for the policymaker, for the end user, if there's any fraud activities, to warn them, if there's any benefits, about to aware the people about that. I think the researchers have very much role to play here, not only from the literature perspectives, but also from the social economic contribution perspectives, right? Here you can see where the smart contracts, online marketplace, online shopping, financial assets, the blockchain channel. The way the changes happening, evolving in the market. Okay. So in the Islamic financial intermediation, as I always say, and I've said before, that financial systems, it's simple. Then how it becomes so complicated? It's simple in concept at the beginning, then the more we move forward, it becomes more complicated. It's simple that someone has more money, someone need money, flow of funds happen, but then it becomes so many things: banks, capital markets, the capital reserve, the NSFR, the LCA, the Basel, so much requirements to regulate the market is because of the intermediary, right? So let's see what are the intermediaries that we have in the Islamic financial market, that we try to understand what are the intermediaries we might have in the Islamic fintech market, and how we can optimize and automate the system. The IFI stands for Islamic Financial Institutions, is an institution that operate in the market to make profit. And IFI operate most in the dual banking system, single and dual registrations, simple thing. IFI, a model that leverage on the Islamic financial intermediation infrastructure. As I've said, the Islamic financial institutions is leveraged on the intermediation. And of course, there are laws, Sharia laws, and countrymen law, civil law, or common law that applies to this institution as well. Okay, so and from the Islamic financial perspectives, the Islamic financial institutions that work in different ways. They have the seller, the buyer, the partner, investor, intermediary, broker. One different from the conventional financial system in the Islamic financial institution is that it's not the creditor, it's not the loan provider, rather it's a part of the business system. There's a basic difference. In the conventional, the debtor and creditor, one is the loan giver and the loan taker, right? Business of riba. But here in the Islamic financial system, it's a business of business, right? So we have the seller, buyer, partner, investor, intermediate, broker. To understand this concept is very important to understand the Islamic economy, Islamic finance, and also to understand Islamic fintech. That Islamic finance, Islamic economy, Islamic business is a business of business. And the conventional system is a business of riba, business of interest, right? What's the difference in that system? Is money increase over the money. And here money increase over the asset. We also have this time value of money, but it increase over the asset price, right? It's not increase over the money. Okay, we're not going to that direction. There's more into classic approaches of the concept of Islamic finance, but to understand here in the Islamic financial system, it's not the creditor or debtor, it's actually the seller, buyer, partner, investor, intermediary, or the broker. You can see the murabah, mudara, musharaka. All these concepts that we need to apply. And as I've said before, in the Islamic fintech, we have these two things. At first, the prohibitions, the non-existence of those prohibitions. Second, the existence of the Islamic financial contract. Okay. And this is very brief of Islamic financial contract. As I've said, the prohibitions, the riba, gharar, maisir, and all others, right, that we should not exist in an Islamic financial contract, right? And then we have applications of these prohibitions, as you have studied many times from Islamic finance. Nothing new, that you know the financial services based on riba, gambling, gaming. This is very interesting, right? The online gaming these days becomes a new phenomena for the kids, the youngsters, and also for the developers, right? So developing games, halal or haram, That's another question for the Sharia researchers. Then, or making money out of those games, right? So gambling is one thing we know is very clear, but gaming is another thing. Once it's come to this thing we need to talk about, right? Then we have the manufacture sale of non-halal products. It's very clear, non-conventional insurance, entertainment activities, manufacture sale of tobacco, and share trading. Another thing, these are very well discussed, so I'm not going to be details in this, but this gaming and few other points, just take note on that. We will, if time allows, we'll try to discuss on that part. So this is the whole picture or the framework of the Islamic financial system. And for your knowledge, this particular slide is also taken from another Fintech lecturer. We have his consent, Dr. Hassan Al-Hassan. So the industrial market and management, we have the Sharia governance, we have the government and regulator, the standard setting bodies, legal framework. This legal framework, the IFSA, CMS, the course, is actually for Malaysian market. It's the name of the laws, and IFSA, Islamic Financial Services Act, and few others equals HC. This actually gives you the overall market regulations of Islamic financial system. The addition here is the Sharia governance, right? And we also have the standard setting bodies for the commercial market like Basel and others. And then we have for Islamic financial market, not all these organizations are the standard setting bodies, some are also supervisory bodies here, right? And Islamic financial market, as you can see, it has three segments: banking, takaful, and capital market. Understanding this whole framework is very important for the researchers because later we will see each and every sector, each and every area will help you find the research issues in Islamic fintech. Okay, so here you see that high demands of Islamic fintech in Muslim community or non-Muslim community. How do you see that, right? So one thing we know that in the Muslim community, we don't like riba. We don't like interest-based system. We want something halal. But the existing system is based on riba, right? So there's always a huge demand for anything that is halal. It can be halal meat, it can be halal food, it can be halal financing, it can be halal fintech. But if you don't have the halal solution, then haram solution is exist. And to replace that, you need the halal solution. Just to understand this concept, is actually create a huge billion-dollar market, right? As mentioned here, the financial permissibility is in line with the halal demand. They create a billion-dollar halal market. So it's more than 2.3 trillion USD, and between 16 and 17, and I think it's much higher than this. So, and also in the global financial market, other non-Muslim countries, the UK, Hong Kong, Singapore, Europe, USA, Canada, and many others, they're also involved in this market. Here you can see some of the requirements of Islamic fintechs that you need to follow. You have understanding these is important because once we draft the Islamic fintech contracts, once we try to fulfill the Islamic fintech system, these components are important. Here, at first, the validation of the Sharia requirements, Sharia advisory requirements. Then we have requirement to name the business offerings. You can also see that we have a requirement to identify Sharia contracts used in the model, disclosure, the price of the products, the fee of the services. Because why these particular requirements are important, we have the conventional fintech, we have the Islamic fintech. Now, how to make the Islamic fintech different from the conventional one? in practical way. Once you are designing an Islamic fintech product, once you are designing Islamic fintech company, what are the elements that should be specific and different from the Islamic fintech perspective? These are some of those. Sharia advisory, and the requirement of the Sharia approval. Then also the price of the product should be disclosed or not, which particular contract you're using, the fee, and all these things. So this is here you can see the components of fintech business model, and also the vision and mission, how you see the declaration of the Sharia compliance, the Sharia advisor visions. I'm going a bit fast because time is limited and we are still here to cover the research issues. So no prohibited Sharia involved in business. So these are few of the components that you need to look into. Okay. At first, the declaration of the Sharia compliance business. This is important to declare. And at first, then the Sharia advisory body, you need to have the vision and mission that's clear and in line with the Sharia compliance. Of course, this is very important to have the audit, the Sharia compliance audit besides the accounting audit. And the features of the business have to be Sharia compliant, and of course, the no prohibited Sharia involved in the business. These are some of the components of the Islamic fintech business model. And the contract that we are talking about is more similar like the Islamic banking or capital market, that we have the sale-based, partnership-based, agency-based, and then we have lease-based, and we have different contracts for different types of business. You can see. Okay. Now this is important. Wait, I think I have missed some things. Okay. So all the things that I have discussed so far, we can summarize that in this slide to move to the next slide. Also to connect the dots between Islamic fintech and Islamic research issues in Islamic fintech. So what we have understood so far, Islamic fintech is actually means Islamic plus fintech. Then Islamic fintech referring to financial technology. Here you see we have these three keywords. We have Islamic, we have financial, then we have technology. This is very important from the research perspective. Once we say the Islamic, the word here Islamic is actually making it different from the conventional. What does Islamic means here? To summarize and to make it simple, we could say two things. One is prohibition of the prohibited items, and also the framework has to be framed by Islamic contract. Other way you could say existence, non-existence of the prohibited items and existence of an Islamic contract. This is Islamic. In the financial is actually the brings the whole financial management things, the fundraising, the investing, the deposit collections, the financing, the liquidity management, and the profit rate, the market rate, and all others details. Then we have technology, which make it very specific to the fintech things. And this technology is connected to the innovation, the changes that happening in the market, that happened very recently, and that is going to happen in very few days. So for a researcher who is interested to do research in Islamic fintech, can do research from these three perspectives. Any of these. Or if you want a complete research in the team, we prefer to have expert, at least one expert from these three areas. This is very important, very interesting for Islamic fintech research. The researchers should have knowledge in all these three areas, or in the team, we should have experts from all these three areas. Because if you don't understand the Sharia principles, how can you actually make it Islamic fintech, because that's the basis of the Islamic principles are the basis of the Islamic fintech. And if you don't understand the finance, then how do you connect the central processing system, right? The finance is also very complicated. You need an expert who understands the finance and financial methods. And then, of course, if you talk about the technology or the tech or fintech, is a technology that's evolving. So you need someone who understands the technology. So doing the research is not something like doing on the surface level. Doing the research is something you are going deeper to derive some information and sharing that to the audience, right? So that's why I always say either the researchers need to be expert in all these three areas, or in the team there should be an expert from each of the area: the Sharia, the finance, and the technology. As I mentioned it here, the issues, once we talk about the research issues in Islamic fintech, so there are three kind of issues, or three major areas of issues. One is issues regarding Islamic principles in Islamic fintech, issues regarding the financial management in Islamic fintech, then the issues regarding the technological applications in Islamic fintech. This is very important. So if you're looking for the research issues, these are three areas. If you're from the Sharia background, there's a huge stake that you can take on, that looking into the Sharia principles, the permissibility, and as you can move forward and look at the next slide, see from the Sharia compliance, if you're from the Sharia background, these are areas, some of the four highlighted areas. There can be many other areas, many other issues and topics that you can look into. Of course, the most important thing is the Sharia compliance. Prohibitions, the contracts, and then we have the issues of digital wallet, we have the smart contract, the blockchain, we have the digital banking, neo banking, DeFi. All these new innovations in the financial system raised many questions, and the Sharia researchers, they need to answer and enlighten the people, and to going deep into the issues and to describe that from the Sharia perspectives, right? Are the Sharia compliant or not? What are the scopes available? What are the scopes not available? So it's a huge area to work on for the Sharia experts. But there's one thing is important again, that Sharia experts need to have the knowledge on the finance, also should have the understanding from the technology perspectives, from the technology that's evolving, right? Or it should be a research team where the Sharia expert can be the project lead, and the finance expert and the technology experts can contribute, but discussions will be to understand the concept of that particular Sharia issues in Islamic fintech products. The second important thing is Sharia governance. We have a governance system. In the Islamic financial system, the Sharia governance. Look at the governance structure in the AUFI, in central banks, all other places. There's a top up we need to do in this new financial system. We should have a Sharia governance body, Sharia advisory body, and you can name it different way: SSA, SSC, Sharia supervisory committee. But for Islamic fintech, should it be different, or it can be similar, or how it is? That's another question we need to answer, right? If you look at the Islamic Islamic fintech companies, some of the companies are startups. They are just developing their product, going to the market. So if we impose so much of Sharia restrictions of governance, can they afford this? And or should be like a centralized Sharia system to look over all these startups, or how it should be? That's another question, and the issues you could say that from the Sharia perspective you can look into. And of course, then we have the Maqasid al-Sharia, right? Things are happening, things are changing. Things that are relevant today, not relevant tomorrow. Technology is a driver. So now we have the blockchain, we have the cryptocurrency, the crowdfunding, and many now, as you also see, sometimes there's an argument there: the robot is going to be more powerful than a human being, right? Then it comes to the question of Maqasid al-Sharia. these technologies are really helping the human being, are really being any goodness to the human. The gaming, is actually like in some cases made argue that destroying our kids. So maybe it does not have any prohibiting element, but looking for the Maqasid al-Sharia perspectives, should it be allowed? Then you have the cryptocurrencies. Many people say it's actually alternative currency. Then decentralize the whole governing system and create the path for the criminals to transact. That's one opinion. That's not my opinion. I'm just saying that's one opinion. So if you think from the Maqasid Sharia perspectives, so does it really go with those compliance issues? So I think that can be another areas of looking into from Islamic fintech perspectives for the research. Then of course the innovations and the replications from the conventionals to the Islamics. In Islamic finance, we need the innovative ideas of products to be in the competitions, to offer more those prohibition-free products to the Islamic market. But how long the innovation should be allowed or not, I think Sharia researchers can also look into that. And the replications is an issue in the Islamic financial system that many of our products are actually replicated from the conventional systems. But once this comes to the Islamic fintech, how should we forward? Do we simply replicate? Do we innovate? Or the replicated or innovated products, how compliant they are? I think the researchers can look into that part as well. Okay, now let's talk about the second part of the Islamic fintech, Islamic financial technology. Second part is the financial part. If you are from the finance background, from the financial and banking areas, right, then I think this is important for me. For me myself, I'm actually originally from my first degree was finance, then did my PhD in Islamic finance, where I got to learn about the Islamic principles Sharia. And once I graduated from a PhD, I mostly work on technology, the fintech, the data analytics, AI. So my background now actually became a compilation of all these three segments: the finance as a first degree, Islamic finance as a PhD, and the working experience or the innovator, the founder of the technology startups. So that actually gives me some advantage to talk on this topic. So once we talk about the financial part, this is very, very interesting things, and it is a huge area to work on, because technology is here to automate, to optimize, to simplify the financial process. Sharia compliance is there to filter the prohibitions. So all the things that are happening on the financial transactions, financial system. So financial part is the core part, we could say, of this system. So to be very simple, very brief, let me give you some idea that you can do in Islamic fintech research. If you have a finance background, you can look into the performance of the Islamic fintech companies. Very easy research. Get the data from some of these fintech companies. Look at the ROA, ROE. Look at the dividend. Look at the ROI, and the process, the payback period, all the financial indicators that you have. You can use that and see how the Islamic fintech companies are performing. And you can also compare it with the conventional companies. Islamic crowdfunding, conventional crowdfunding, you can compare. And another thing that you can do is a market prediction, right? You can use a machine learning methods like neural network or sentiment analysis and other method to understand how to predict the products that's going to come or that's being existed in the market at the moment, right? And the last point is very interesting. I was thinking about this for the last few months, is cost of faith. What do I mean by cost of faith? For example, I need to buy insurance, actually last few months before. I went to the conventional insurance provider, not to buy, just talk to them to understand the market. The price they quoted is much cheaper and benefits are more, but once it's come to the Islamic financial products, cost is higher, benefits are less. That means Now it comes to my cost of faith. Because of my faith, of course, I don't prefer the conventional products. I prefer Islamic financial products. But the Islamic financial products giving me less benefit and cost is higher. Now, go to the banks. In many countries, you'll find the Islamic banks, they provide less profit. Process is more complicated. But in conventional, it's more straightforward. You get the guaranteed payment and everything. So again, it becomes the question is cost of faith. Your faith. Like, okay, if I go for the Islamic banks, I may need to lose 10,000 USD. If I go for the Takaful every month, financially I lose 5,000 or 500 USD or 50 USD. Again, once you go to the Islamic capital market, if I don't care about the Islamic principles, I can trade any stock. But if I care about the Islamic, then I cannot trade any stock, right? Again, now it comes to Islamic fintech, right? Things are happening. So it can be a very good research question to understand how long the community will sacrifice the cost of faith. Like, okay, if it's 100 USD, more or less, maybe they don't mind, they go for Islamic product. But if it is 10,000 USD, the difference, will they go for it? If it's 100,000 USD, the difference, will they go for it? That can be a very good, interesting research question to understand the performance versus compliance. And other way, I say the cost of faith. So this is another area the researchers can look into. I think it can be very interesting research from the policy perspectives and also from end user perspectives. Then we have, okay, from technology perspectives, of course, all the innovative technologies that's happening. Okay, excuse me for 1 second, I need to plug in. Okay, and from the technology perspectives, of course, we have those, the data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, the blockchain applications, alternative currencies, borrowing lending system, then the metaverse is coming, quantum computing is the next. So how this fintech is going to place in this ecosystem, that can be another big question. And the researchers can dig into this. From the technology perspectives, we have a huge thing to do here in this area. So, but there are some challenges, of course, that we face in this fintech research. Number one is a lack of data. Most of these fintech companies are very new and not very well documented. So they face problems of the lack of data. But alternatively, we can collect the data from the social media, Facebook, Twitter. We can collect the data from the text that available in the market. We can collect the data from the global market and can contextualize in the Islamic financial market. Lack of literature is a big issue. We don't have much literature available in the Islamic fintech, but again, we can connect this to the classical literature and conventional literature. And this is very important. The point number 3, we do not have actually enough quantitative experts who can understand the model of Islamic fintech and the model that models to analyze the Islamic fintech problems in the research. If you ask me, the research is one word, is the model. That's the core of any research. You model or frame the whole research in one equation, right? So we need to have the quantitative expert who can actually understand the complications or complexity of Islamic fintech and model that in a model. And another thing is very important. You see, this Islamic fintech area is rising. We need the knowledge creations from the academics. At the same time, this knowledge creation should be reflected by the practice in the market. These academic industry collaborations are very much crucial here, which is missing in many cases for the Islamic fintech research. And we, iFintel Business Intelligence, what we try to do, we try to fill this gap from our company perspectives for the Islamic fintech research. We train the academicians, industry players on the Islamic fintech data analysis, understanding concepts, all the innovations. We provide the data. We also our expert support in the modeling the things. And we are being industry also working with many universities all over the world to produce joint research on Islamic fintech, and also in other areas. As you can see, we have two programs that we offer. One program is professional certificate program in Islamic fintech. It's a 3 months program, and certificate comes from University of Science Malaysia, and it's also endorsed by AOFI and Malaysian government. And in these 3 months, we cover the overview of Islamic fintech, the blockchain, cryptocurrency, Islamic crowdfunding, payment gateway, digital bank, robo advisory. We also teach you the basic codings and how you can use the codes to analyze the market. And we talk about the social fintech like zakat, wakaf, qard, hasan, sadaqah, how it can be utilized by fintech ideas, and then of course the sharia and legal issues. It can be face-to-face, it can be online based on the country you're from. And then for the researchers, we have this, the Stata, R language, Python, Power BI, W, like quantitative regression, threshold analysis. Then you have the panel data analysis, volatility modeling, DEA, and of course, big data and machine learning. So all these things we teach to the researchers, to the academicians and the industry players to fill this gap that we face in the market. See, these 4 gaps are very crucial. The lack of data, lack of literature, experts, and the academic and industry collaborations. We try to fill this gap. Okay, that's all actually for me now. I think it's exactly 2 p.m. in Nepal, 1 hour. So Dr. Mohammad, I think we can open the session for Q&A now. And this is our contact details. You can communicate with us anytime to this email address, website, and of course the WhatsApp number. So let's go for the questions, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mobin. Mashallah, you covered almost all the agendas, concept of research, concept of fintech, Islamic fintech, issues in Islamic fintech, research scopes and challenges with details, mashallah. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this wonderful and informative session. So we open floor for the question or any comment, additional remark from the online guest. Please welcome. Either you may raise your hand or you may write the questions in question and answer section. We can see here, Atif Muhammad, what about smart contracts, how it works and what the right way for it?
Okay, smart contracts are smarts. In other way, how to say it? Let's talk from the Islamic financial perspectives. In Islamic finance, we have contract, mudaraba, musharaka, murabaha, all this. All the contracts means actually there are 2 parties or multiple parties who are involved. All these parties, they are involved in a financial transactions, right? If you think about the sukuk, we have many parties. The bond is simple. When I teach my students at University of Malaya, I tell them this is James Bond and this is James Sukuk. Okay, so it's like this. The bonds is simple, debtor and creditor. But in sukuk, you got many parties involved, 5 parties, 7 parties. Then all the financial engineering happen. So once the process is very complicated, many parties are involved. It takes longer time to approve and also to optimize the process. Then imagine in a system, you have all the parties or the representative who actually simply click approve or reject, and it goes to the next step. The whole thing is automated through blockchain or other system. Then it becomes a smart contract. What I'm trying to say in a simpler way, a contract, once it's been simplified using a technology to automate or optimize the process, that's actually a smart contract. That's from the layman perspectives. But if you want to go for more technological perspectives, it will take longer time to explain the blockchain system, other system, how is being implemented in the contract. But to understand, a smart contract is a contract that is smart enough to optimize and automate the system, to reduce the work of the intermediary, and actually all the thing can be done simply click and approve or reject.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mobin. And what about the signature on?
Okay, that can be digital signature. an approved signature. And it can be done in many ways, but of course, the authenticity of the signature, it can be thumbnail, it can be in different ways you can do it. Depends on the complications, but also depends on the level of confidentiality and authenticity, all these things that you want to ensure. Maybe if it's a simple document, a simple digital signature is fine. If you want to go for some advanced, the thumbnail and some other authentication, the retina, the facial expressions, all these things you can actually incorporate it in the system these days.
Okay, thank you so much. Any more question, please? This is a good time for.
Yes, someone raised their hands.
Yeah. So a good topic as well. Ahmad Yassin, please, brother Ahmad Yassin, please. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmad. I'm from Egypt, Cairo. I recently just graduated from Faculty of Business. Um, I have a startup in Islamic financial technology. It's based on loan the people money, but with gold, not the money. So if you wanna take from me 100 USD, I will give you like 2 grams that equal that amount of money. Okay.
Okay.
So I think it's better to have an idea in Islamic financial that just find someone to support it. So how I can support this idea to be in the market, because I just don't have the experience and the knowledge for this idea, but I really wanted to validate it and go to the market and publish it. I recently just go to a startup accelerator that will help us next week, inshallah. But I really want to learn more about Islamic financial technology and launch this app or this fintech about Islamic financial.
Brother Ahmad Yassin, this is very interesting idea. One thing you can do, simply go to Google and search for Hello Gold. Hello Gold is one of the organizations that's doing the kind of similar thing based in Malaysia and Singapore, and they are doing quite good actually on the same concept. This idea is very interesting, the gold-based currency. At the same time, it can be very challenging. So once we start a startup, main idea that comes to our mind is a business model, the revenue model, the sustainability, how you are going to make money out of these ideas. So that's one of the things that you need to think about, because these days many banks, they are actually offering gold-based account. Means instead of depositing your money, you deposit the gold. I means like you deposit 1,000 USD, bank actually considers equivalent 1,000 USD gold price. The price increase and decrease based on the gold price ups and downs in the market. So if this is a similar concept that you are trying to do in your startup, then the big banks are your competitor. They can do it easily. But if you are trying to have some other gold coins and gold currency, I know many of my friends are trying to do it on the same thing in Malaysia and some other places. Of course, a very good idea. But what I would say, brother, look into some other competitors and some other people who are doing that in the market, how they are doing, communicate with them, what are the problems they are facing, and that will give you some real case scenario. What are the problems that you may face in future, and what are the prospects that you have. Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah. Dr. Mobin, I really thank you and this for this session, and I really wanna to share with you more details from this idea. So can I contact you?
Yeah, sure, inshallah. Anyone is free to contact us actually anytime. No problem with that.
Thank you very much.
Email address. So in that email address, you can always communicate with us.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I think there are few more comment from Sister Monia. Thank you very much for the beautiful and useful meeting. Allah reward. Okay, most welcome. Thank you as well. Mr. Haider Marhaban. Shukran. Jazakumullah khairan. And Sahar Baitul Mal. Okay. How do we overcome the challenges of different madhabs when it comes to an Islamic fintech?
Interesting question. Yeah. It's a classical question. Sharia experts are better positioned to answer this question, but from my understanding from the practice, once it's come to the Islamic finance, Islamic economy, you see all the scholars from different madhab, they sit together and they come up with the standards. You look at the AOF standard, you look at the IFSB standard, and in Malaysia, it's the Shafi'i madhab, but they're taking many things from the Hanafi madhab and other madhab, and it's happening. So the harmonizations, synchronizations are there. 95% issues scholars agree, maybe more than 95%. The few things they don't agree, I think it has a beauty of the customizations according to different lands. And if you look at the office standards, it's been reflected there. For the fintech also, they have their standards upcoming. So take a look on that, and that will actually resolve many of the madhab related issues, and you can get a harmonized and synchronized standard for issuing Islamic fintech fatwas and things. But of course, the scholars are in better positions to move forward and to the istihad. Istihad is a beauty to tackle the innovations.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Mobin. Brother Atif, another question. What about the legal authenticity in the signature of those contracts about the existence of disputes?
Okay, it's a ongoing debate. It's from two ways. One is from the technological perspectives, another from the legal perspectives. Because the way the laws are documented in many countries, that actually the traditional way. You need the signature, you need thumbnail. But now we have the digital signature, as I mentioned before, with the facial expressions, with the retina, and many other technologies are coming, right? So how to accommodate in the system? One way is that technological perspectives, or the technology experts need to understand the legal limitations. The legal experts, the lawmaker, they need to understand the technological development. And things are happening in many countries, and once the things happen in the developed country, it's also being reflected in the developing countries slowly. And in the Muslim countries, mostly we are either the developing or the least developed countries in most of the cases, at least to capture the changes in the market. So it will take some time. The way it happens here, the developed countries, they adopt a law or legal system, and then we start adopting that. So let's see. We need to wait and be patient. But it's an opportunity for any startups. If you have a better idea, come up with that, throw to the market, and you can make money.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mobin. And we are still waiting for any more question, or otherwise we need to conclude the session. Please, if you have any more question, please you may ask. Okay, I think there is one more question. Oh no, thank you for this useful section, Atif. Most welcome, brother Atif. Thank you so much as well. So we thank you all very much for joining us in this session, and we believe that you have benefited from this lecture, Alhamdulillah. So we thank you very much, all the participants from around the world who joined us today. And on behalf of our Islamic Economics Association, we would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Mobin, for your time, for your effort, and for this brilliant session. And may Allah bless you, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you as well. And we hope to see you again in our upcoming any other session, inshallah. And we would like to thank our management, board members, and staff in the association, especially our Director General, Dr. Alal Ubaid, for their effort, for their services, for promoting this Sharia, Islamic banking and finance models and strategies globally. And inshallah, we hope to see you again soon in the session. If you have, Dr. Mobin, if you have any few words.
It's a pleasure to be here, actually. Thank you very much, the organization, Dr. Mohammad and everyone else. Thanks to our audience for the patience and listening to us. It's a pleasure. And we are very open to discussions. The views that I have provided is mostly my own view. Doesn't need necessarily like is a, I would say, something like that concrete. That fintech is changing, our views are changing. Things that are relevant today not might be relevant tomorrow. So we are also doing much more research, and we are also changing our views if it's needed in a flexible way. And if you want to part of any fintech research, or if you want to communicate with us, feel free. We're happy to participate in project research to help you either from the industry perspectives or from individual perspectives. Thank you all again. Thanks to the organizers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mobin again. Okay, thank you all again. With that, we conclude today's session here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.